I will just give examples and the structure how ASELSAN, or think about in general a defense company. There are certain things specific to ASELSAN, and then at the end I will add my own notes. So ASELSAN especially has been going through significant changes in the last 2 years, especially how to deal with the R&D projects, how to deal with the finance, and how to combine these two together. So I will mention about those new initiatives. And then there are different ways, not just one, there are different ways and venues to interact and collaborate with the universities. I'll mention about those. And a specific example also, it's one of those methods, but it qualifies for its own bullet item, I believe, ASELSAN Academy model. And then, in general, benefits and conclusions in my own remarks. Our technology roadmap has been redesigned in the last 2 years, and it was tied to finance, and then there's a more deeper, comprehensive dealing with the R&D projects. When you say R&D, I don't think there's no such company big enough as ASELSAN or TAI, for that matter, that can handle all the R&D projects by themselves. They need some help. They need some expertise, especially in certain areas. So ASELSAN, in order to achieve this goal, look at certain things, such as internally financed R&D projects. We call it self-financed, in Turkish, öz kaynaklı Ar-Ge projeleri. Look at the investment plans, technology roadmaps, thesis topics, and then the emphasis was on having products, indigenous products, and then having things domestically produced. And then what are the innovative technologies where the universities are mainly coming into the picture. So if you look at this block diagram, I don't know how clear it is. To me, it's not that clear, but it all starts with this strategic plan, and then these are the type of technologies, shortly, where you can make big jumps or switch from one area to another area at the forefront of the technology. And then out of this, you generate technology roadmaps. In my division, which is Akyurt, MGEO, we call it, there are 3 different technological roadmap items, and each one qualifies and addresses certain topic, and let alone imagine the remaining 4 other divisions and multiply this number. And these are all potential projects for universities. And then they turn into ASELSAN projects. When we say ASELSAN projects, there are 2 main categories, one of which I mentioned, self-funded R&D projects. The other one is, in the classical meaning, contracted projects. ASELSAN is committed to allocate 7% of its annual income for these type of projects, and that's a huge amount, as you can imagine. Sometimes it becomes 8%. And then these projects have to be R&D projects, and then will benefit the company, will benefit the country on a larger scale, potentially, and some export items. And one condition, there are certain conditions how a self-funded project is created. One of the conditions is you have to tie your project to one of the technological roadmap items. And then in each project, you have to make a jump, I shouldn't say jump, but a couple of steps advancement in the technology readiness levels. Generally, the acceptable ones or expected outcomes are to reach level 7, 8. But if you start from scratch, like level 0, level 1, then it could be okay by the end of the project to reach 5 or 6 and 9, as you know, commercially available or make a commercial product that are used in the operation in the field. Through these projects, there are strong collaborations with the universities. I would roughly say 50–60% of such projects are having some collaboration with the universities, depending on the nature. Sometimes 2 universities in one project. And then there is the monitoring process. There is the approval process. I'm one of the board members of the higher council who decides the choice of the project, and then it goes all the way up to the CEO for sign-off. Then it becomes a project, and then there is a 6-month period monitoring of those projects. The other one, like I said, in the typical sense, contracted projects, generally funded by SSB or presidential Presidents of Defense Industries. We all go by Turkish, so I'm having difficulty in remembering the English part. Those are generally high profile, very innovative and large scale projects. Again, there's the monitoring scheme going on. And another part, how we collaborate with the universities, is the service procurement, such as, I mean, there's a faculty, or in other words, professor somewhere in some university, and definitely he or she has some expertise in an area which we lack. So on an hourly basis, advisory role, we ask her to address some of the problems, and that's how we work. And in some cases, some of the professors have their own entrepreneurship. They have their own company. We also do this for those type of companies. This is the most interesting one from your perspective, I assume. There's this concept called ASELSAN Academy. In literature, or in ASELSAN terminology, it's the 4th generation university, which is it's off-campus and industry-based university. So there are 4 universities in this, if we can call it, consortium. And then it's approved and endorsed by the Higher Educational Council of Turkey, YÖK. Those 4 universities are listed. I'm sure there are members from those universities here. Gazi University, Middle East Technical University, Istanbul Technical University, and then Gebze Technical University. So there are professors in 4 disciplines: materials, science or engineering, computer engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, and then the last one is the mechanical engineering. There are professors coming to our campus, giving the lectures, and then after that, the research period starts, and there are some certain conditions have to happen for that research part. And this started for the 2017 and 18 academic calendar, so it's kind of new. Again, I mean, couple of the conditions. The project has to be an R&D project, innovative, and then it has to be in the areas of the employee who is pursuing higher degree, master's or PhD, related to that project. And then there has to be another co-chair assigned to that project or thesis, along with the professor from whichever university. So that monitoring and making progress becomes easier, because we do not expect all the professors, be pretty fluent in every technical area that we deal with. So one of the goals is to advance the current level of the project to a higher level, maybe towards a closure conclusion. So this is a very effective way. Currently, as far as I know, I was told the latest number was 444 people are in this program as of now. So what are the benefits of this program? This could be more beneficial to you. On one hand, we are fostering the employees with the higher education or higher education goals. On the other hand, we are helping the company and the project to reach a goal of making it towards a product or finishing the project. It is also helpful for the employees to be on their own environment rather than going to the university. So this has to line up with, as I said before, for the other type of project, this has to line up with the technology roadmap. Through this education, this is one of the most important outcomes, the competency level of the employee increases, and hoping his or her affiliation with the company and the technology increases. And of course, needless to say, this definitely increases the industry and university relationship. Excuse me. Yes. There's one last program called SIPE, arranged by SSB, so I'll be using SSB going forward. It's called the Researcher Training Program for Defense Industry. There are a couple of defense companies originally involved in this, or when it was first established in 2011. ASELSAN was one of them, and you see the other names over there. And currently, on the order of 25 or a little bit more than 25 universities signed up with this, with SSB as well as with ASELSAN. Of course, the monitoring role now falls onto the shoulders of SSB on this one, and progress reports and everything. Definitely it's tailored towards the needs of the companies and towards the needs of the industry, defense industry. Currently we do have 20 SIPE projects. Obviously the other companies have such numbers, so you can imagine, I mean, it could hit up to big numbers, and there are total right now, besides those initial ones, there are total 35 companies signed up for this program. And in the conclusion part, I mean, we cannot deny the need for the universities and the companies or industry to collaborate, because universities are more geared towards the basic research or fundamental research. Generally, the companies sometimes lack those, or they have to invest so much manpower on that one. So we get the benefit from that perspective. One of the things, the needs of the company versus the capabilities of the university has to be well shared. And then another point I jot down when I was told, talk about a little bit social aspect of it too. For me, this is social aspect. You can agree or disagree. Universities, when they do their projects or research, they have to, in my opinion, they have to keep the goal of having products or using domestically produced products, and then they have the goal in mind to make things indigenous. That way, the collaboration with the university is going to be a lot more meaningful. And then one other thing I do see as a lacking point in Turkey, maybe in the world, that I cannot speak that much. Certain areas, for example, our division is specialized in electro-optics, guidance, yet I do not see any electrical engineering, for example, department focusing on geomatics, for example. Maybe there is one or two starting, but there are certain specialty areas. When we have the employee, let's say through the interview process, becomes our employee, we have to train him. That's normal, but we have to train him or her very basics. So what are the needs of the industry? What are the needs of the defense industry versus what are the capabilities on the BS level, Bachelor of Science level? This has to be kept in perspective. Another thing, please keep in mind, we are talking about all postgraduate studies and higher level education, which means Bachelor of Science, BSc, should come from the universities. That means you have a much more important role to furnish the student at least good enough before applying a job. I'm talking about, let's say, on the defense industry perspective. One other thing from my own personal life, I do have two daughters. One stayed back, finished the college, and the other one decided to come to Turkey for, a college degree, which is very unusual. Imagine 18-year-old person who wants to come to Turkey and who was raised and brought in U.S. and then wants to come to Turkey to get the higher education or a bachelor degree. She started, she's going to, medical school. Medium of instruction is full English. I'm not saying English is being criticized. I'm saying she said one day she's getting okay grades, not so great grades, although she's a good student. But she said, here I noticed the education, at least for that department, is based on memorization rather than understanding. So, however, out of the country, back in US, it's all based on first understanding and then if needed, memorization. So she said other people, when they get stuck, they just go memorize without understanding. On the long term, I know she's gonna benefit. But in the short term, she's suffering sometimes from the grades. So that's all I can say, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.